Okay, finally, now we're up. Now we are up and broadcasting. Awesome. Okay. I really hope we can work today. Right now, tomorrow we have math testing.
Oh, yeah.
Tomorrow's kindergarten.
What?
Tomorrow's kindergarten.
You might
Okay. All right. You're up and running. All right. So the next thing we're going to talk about, we're going to keep kind of talking about Ricky Tikki Tavi for a little bit, because it is such a long story. I want to get as much out of it as we can, and there's so much good stuff going on in it. So we're going to talk about really quickly is I have another short little writing assignment for you in just a little bit. We'll probably do as soon as we finish this. But I want to start on this. I want to talk to you a little bit about bias. Does everybody know what we mean when I say something is bias? Anybody know what I mean when I say something is bias?
Wait, like bias?
Bias.
I think it's
Right.
bi means two, like, I think if I want to go into the objective.
Too objective? Not quite.
Did you like talk about like Friday or something about how it's like one-sided and like in reports?
Okay.
Isn't it like it's not like not racist, but like not racist. But what's it called? Judgmental towards like something at different times.
Okay. One more time. Just say it one more time because there's a little bit of chatter over here, so I want to make sure everybody heard. Okay. This is what we're going to do. The next thing we're going to have to identify what, according to you guys, what is objective and what is bias. So what I have here is we have another set of our wonderful spinny wheels of discovery, I call them, or of disappearance. And we have two groups of words. They are synonyms. They're all synonyms. Some of them are synonyms for something that is biased. They're another word that you can use for something that is biased. And some of them are synonyms for things that are objective. Does anybody know what we mean by objective? Awesome, this is going to be a lot of fun. All right, so here, let's look at the words. Okay, so we have objectivity versus bias. Here are some of our words. Favoritism, partial, neutral, impersonal, lopsided, impartial. We have other choices in there. Does anybody want to take a chance and see if they can find one that they might be able to move into one of these correlating, one of these synonyms? Zach, tell me which word you were picking.
Lopsided.
Lopsided, and do you think that's objective or biased?
Biased.
Correct, lopsided. Something that is biased is lopsided. Very good.
Favoritism.
Favoritism. Oh, yeah. Oh, favoritism is not objectivity. Something that shows favoritism. Nope. Actually, no, you go ahead and move, because I'm not going to ask that. Go ahead and move it over to bias. Something that has favoritism is not objective. It is bias.
How?
It is bias. Something that shows favoritism is bias. Jacqueline. Neutral. Something that is neutral. neutral. Something that is neutral has objectivity. It is an objective idea. Something that is neutral. Kevin. What word are you picking? Impersonal. Oh, impersonal is objective. What do we mean by impersonal? So can anybody tell me what we mean by impersonal?
No, in pretty sure means not personal. So not face to face.
Not personal, not quite not face to face. That is one way we use personal. Courtney?
It's personal, but it like, you know, everybody knows impersonal. I mean,
It can mean that, but not in the way we're using it. Not in this case. I know what you're trying to say, but it's not in that case. But what we mean by personal and impersonal is, if I were to ask you, what's one of the major rules I have when you write argument papers on something not to do? What is something I tell you not to do? Say I, right? Because you want to keep yourself out of the paper. If you keep yourself out of the paper, it's an impersonal paper. It's not about what you think, right? So when you keep yourself out of the paper, when you keep your own opinions out of it, you don't talk about I all the time. It's impersonal, right? You're not inserting your own person into it. When you start talking about what you think and what you believe and what you like and what you don't like, that becomes a very personal paper. It's about you more than it's about whatever subject you're writing about. So we have two left up there. Okay, go grab one. Brooke, you can grab the next one.
Partial.
Partial.
Yes, she will. So no,
It could go either way.
Oh, never mind.
Either way.
Partial. Okay, so we had partial, and what's our last one?
Oh,
Impartial.
heck, you hit away.
Oh.
So remember, sorry, dude,
The
you're away.
last one was partial. This one's
Impartial, we sort of mean the same way, the same thing. When we talk about something that's impartial, it's something that's partial means that it has a particular feeling towards something. It has a particular taste. So I am rather partial to Portillo's chocolate cake. If anybody doesn't already know this about me, I've never tried the shake. I like the cake all by itself. So, I am rather partial to Portillo's chocolate cake. In my opinion, it is the best chocolate cake on the face of the planet. So, if someone were to come to ask me and say, what do you think about, I don't know, what do you think about chocolate cake from I don't know, Jimbo's. Yeah, Jimbo's restaurant. What do you think about chocolate cake from Jimbo's? And I would immediately tell you, without ever having tried it, it's not nearly as good as Portillo's chocolate cake. Because I'm partial to it, right? I have an opinion, I have a feeling, an attachment. I will tell you already that it doesn't matter what they look like, my children are the cutest children on the face of the planet. I don't care what any other child looks like, my children are the cutest children on the face of the
No, I
planet.
think it was.
Do I have an objective opinion on that?
No.
Am I being objective?
No.
No, I'm not being objective at all. I have a partiality towards my own children. They don't look like me, but I have a partiality towards them. I still think that even though they don't look like me, I still think that they are the cutest kids in the world. They look like everybody from my wife's side of the family. They look like my wife. My daughter looks like my wife, and my son looks like my nephew. Like they look exactly like me. They don't look, no, because they're cute kids. So if you're being objective, then you are not swayed on either side. Now, if I didn't have any kids at all, and somebody asked me who the cutest babies in the world were, would I have a more objective opinion than I do right now?
Yeah.
Yes. Would I have a very objective opinion if someone asked me what the best baseball team in the world was?
No.
No! No, I'm pretty well dedicated to one team, right?
Save Cubs.
I might say possibly the Tigers, because that's my second team. Cubs and Tigers, right? Yeah. If someone asked me, I'm trying to think of another example. There are other things that like I would be rather objective on. I don't necessarily have a really great opinion on. Like if you asked me what the if you asked me what the best professional basketball team is, I'm not gonna, I don't know. I probably look at the statistics and I would give you a. I would look at the statistics and I would give you an answer based on statistics, not based on my own personal preference because I can't stand basketball. So I'm not a basketball fan. So hockey, I'm a fan of hockey. I'm a diehard Rangers fan. So I am. Neither do I.
Why are you in
All right. Lie down. So, there are things that people are going to be objective about and biased about, right? I am rather biased in the world of technology towards, or I should say against, products made by Apple. Now, I'm not against it for any real reason that I can actually point my finger to. They're a pretty good company. They make pretty good products. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just at some point in time in my life, I decided that I didn't want to do the conversion from all the Windows stuff that I'm familiar with over to Apple, and so I am opposed to them. And I don't buy Apple products. I prefer to buy Samsung products and Windows products. So that's sort of the way, that's just me. I am biased towards it. Some other people are completely biased towards Apple. They are for Apple. So you really find these big opinions. And then there are other people who can be rather objective. Now, when we're looking at bias and objectivity, we need to ask ourselves some questions, especially when we're looking at information, at resources that we're going to use when we're writing argumentative papers, when we are doing research papers. We want to look at extra information. We need to ask other questions from our sources so that we can find out whether they're being biased or whether they actually have an objective opinion. Okay. So, we're going to find out some traits of objective information, some things that we can look for. What are things we can look for to tell whether or not our information is objective? Because this is where we want to get our information from, right? We want to have objective information, right? Does anybody think we really want to have biased information? Anybody? We want biased information? Not really. We want objective information. Objective information is going to give us all the accurate facts. Biased information a lot of times is going to be, remember one of our words was lopsided?
Yeah.
A lot of times biased information is really just going to point out a lot of things that are good about something and not show you any of the negatives. They're going to talk about a lot of the benefits without talking to you about any of the negatives. Okay? Objective information should give you an equal amount of good things about something and bad things about something. So, find out the traits of the object information. So, it provides equal weightage to multiple perspectives. Has anybody, I don't know if you guys do this at all, has anybody in the room ever bought anything online or had somebody buy stuff online? Okay. How many of you guys, before you buy something online, do you read the reviews at the bottom? Okay. If you notice, I don't know if you knew this, but there are ways that different companies will knock off negative reviews of their product. So if they have too many negative reviews, or if they feel the negative reviews aren't valid, they'll knock them off. And so a lot of times on sites like Amazon, you'll only see the positive stuff. Or they'll hide some of the negative reviews. So you don't read them automatically unless you actually go in and look for them. They can change those settings so they can do that. But you want to make sure that they give equal weights to both sides. The positive of things and the negative side of things. Okay? Why would a company like Amazon or somebody who's selling something on Amazon hide the negative reviews? They're gonna lose business if they show the negative.
They could, like, everyone could, like, figure out, like, all the weird stuff they put into their food, or, like, all the different, like, things that make it, like, not as good as this other product, so that would make this expensive.
Okay, so they can find out the drawbacks. Some of the stuff, sometimes they put negative things into it. Like, I don't know if you guys knew this. You probably don't. But this is actually I think this is really interesting. When I was a student teacher, my cooperating teacher was the teacher that I worked with. Her father was what they call a food chemist. And what a food chemist is a food chemist is someone who works with chemicals and takes different chemicals and puts them together to make different food elements or make things that either taste like a particular food or can substitute a particular food. His big invention is, you know, the Oreo cookies, right? You know the frosting that's in the middle that is so good? Yeah, that's not really frosting. It's a combination of chemicals mixed together in a laboratory to make that pasty stuff. That looks and tastes like frosting. It's not really frosting. That's why if you notice, they don't call it the Oreo frosting anymore. They call it the Oreo center because it's not frosting. It's a chemical combination made in a laboratory to taste like frosting.
Tastes good.
Doesn't that sort of can you? It tastes good, right?
Yeah.
If I would have told you that that was the case, would any of you have known the difference? No, right? How many of you still don't care? Like it still tastes good. Is anybody a little bit weirded out or grossed out by it? Just a little bit?
A little worried,
A
but
little bit worried? Okay, but not a lot, right? I will, I love Oreos and I'll still eat them.
Well, tell me all.
Why don't they just use regular frosting?
That's a great question. Why do we think that they won't use regular frosting? Anna has a great question. Why don't they use regular frosting? Dan.
Costs too much money.
It costs too much money, that's A. It takes a lot of time. Those are the two main reasons. If they can come up with something that costs less and takes less time, they have more profit, right? All right, we'll get back to this when you guys get back. Take a break.
look at
Yeah.
I was bored. Didn't know what to do.
You probably want to double it, so. Mark down small on there, and I will, when I call the guy, I'll check and see if they have like a, because what size shirt do you normally wear? Like a small or medium? Okay. Well, did you get like a kid small last time or something like that? Or was it youth medium or something like that? I'll check and see if they have that size if you want. I can check and see if they have it.
Again, I'm so bored.
Alright?
We need to do a
Thank you.
university dinner fighting classes t-shirt.
T-shirt? I'll think about it. I'll do a fundraiser for it. We'll make some University of Goodner Fighting Foxes t-shirts. Stupid project has completely gotten away from me. No.
Oh wow, this is the best page to write open up to.
I've done it before though. Oh, I know. Oh, I love this game.
And I can lose. What? Potion Man?
I told Chris it was this much.
Oh, okay, so that's what that is.
What?
Terra. No, that's Terra.
Terraria, not Terraria. Already well. He's like Terraria. He's like Terra. I'm like, that's Terraria.
Just like something like this.
I was gonna ask, how did getting sold go?
What are you doing?
How did getting sold on eBay go?
Oh, it didn't work.
What are you doing?
Why didn't you sell them on eBay?
Didn't stay long enough.
I was here too. But then I left
You could
because,
have.
You have to be here till at least 4 o'clock and not for a sporting event.
oh man.
I don't care.
Oh my god.
Did you want it?
I don't.
Oh, okay, that's what What the? And you do
It's always wrong.
People.
It's like,
Japanese stuff is always wrong.
I know.
oh my gosh, that's so
Yeah.
long.
Oh, anyway. Oh boy.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
Give me that.
really quickly.
Give me that pencil.
Okay. In our argument writing, I talked to a couple people from my language arts class last year. Asked us when we were doing our argument writing for our local assessment. A couple people asked me a question if we use a particular tool. Does anyone you guys remember what that was? Not the MLA. Our ACAR. Remember our ACAR? Does anybody remember what ACAR stands for from last year? Anybody? Courtney, do you remember what ACAR stands for from last year?
ACAR.
ACAR is what it is. Jacqueline, do you remember what it stands for?
No, I thought I had the page blank.
Alan, do you remember what it stands for? Kevin? Nice, Brooke? No?
Wait, actual
Jocelyn, do you remember what it stands for? Nope.
It's not
Argument. It stands for argument.
Give me what?
Compare.
Stands for argument, counter argument, and then a response. Argument, counter argument, and then a response. And the reason why you include something like that in now, I think other teachers refer to it as the counterclaim. We did talk about it as counterclaim here at the end of the year. The reason why we want to do that, why we want to include that into our argument writing papers, is because it does this top thing. It provides an equal weightage to multiple perspectives. So we are acknowledging when we write an argumentative paper, we do our best to keep it objective by acknowledging the fact that there are people who disagree with us and that they have some pretty good reasons to disagree with us. Okay? So when you include an ACAR or a counter argument or a counter claim, you are making your paper more objective. And by making your paper more objective, you are making it stronger. You want to acknowledge that there are other people who disagree with you, and that they might actually have a good point in some areas. Whenever you read a paper or you read an article or something like that, and it says, these other people who don't agree with me are just morons, and they don't agree with me because they don't know what they're talking about. Is that balanced? Does that provide an equal weightage to multiple perspectives? by saying someone who doesn't agree with you that they're just morons, they don't know what they're talking about. Is that providing an equal weighting? No. You're being rather inflammatory towards them. You are downcutting what they think. And you're not providing them with an equal argument. You are being mean. So, you want to, in order to stay objective, you want to stay biased. Or you want to provide an equal amount of information for both sides of the issue. When you don't do that, you become writing a biased paper. And you want to avoid that. All right, what else? Facts are stated without favoritism. So when you have something that is written objectively, your facts are stated without favoritism. Which means that you include almost all the facts, not just the ones that are good for you. Right? You include all of the facts, not just the ones that are good for you. An example of this might be, one of my favorite arguments to get into is the argument of who is the greatest quarterback to play the game. I love this argument. I love this argument because I'm a kind of football junkie and I like the statistics in football. And so I like getting into this argument. And I like getting into this argument because I think that the two most valid people to win this argument are two of my favorite quarterbacks. So it's fun for me to get into this argument because I win both either way. I feel like I had the best argument for all cases. My favorite two people to include in this to fight between on the greatest quarterback to ever play the game are Joe Montana, who you probably don't remember. You played long before your time. Joe Montana and Tom Brady. And the reason why, here's the reason. Tom Brady has more Super Bowl rings than Peyton Manning and his brother combined. He has, I believe, more Super Bowl rings than Peyton Manning, his brother, and his father combined. There's only one person who has ever played the position of quarterback in the NFL who has more Super Bowl rings than Tom Brady. And that's Joe Montana. Well, and Terry Bradshaw. Joe Montana and Terry Bradshaw are tied with the league. I think they both have 5, and Tom Brady has 4. Huh? Brady has 4. But see, there is part of the statistic that I hide, that I leave out. I show favoritism. I only talk about his wins, right? He's been to the Super Bowl 6 times and lost it twice. I don't talk about that. I don't add that in. Peyton Manning has never lost a Super Bowl. He's been once, but he's never lost. But he's only been once. He's only been once. Eli Manning has also never lost a Super Bowl. And one of his 2 Super Bowls, he beat New England. So he beat Tom Brady. So there are facts, when I use my arguments, there are things I leave out. Joe Montana never lost a Super Bowl. Joe Montana never lost a Super Bowl. So, because I have favoritism, because my favorite player is Tom Brady, I'm going to only include the statistics or the things that I think are positive. I'm not gonna leave out the negative facts about him because I don't want to show favoritism. I'm not going to point out the fact that he rarely has a pass more than 30 yards on the field. Why? He doesn't need to. He does other things. Now, someone like Peyton Manning or Dan Marino or one of those other guys, they much better accuracy, much better numbers in certain areas. But I want to hide certain things and only point out other things because I'm showing favoritism. Anybody think of another area where we do this? Anybody think of another area where we show favoritism? We only talk about the things that we like about something.
We're talking about the Cubs with the World Series.
Okay.
They won it back to back, but I don't say that they won it 100 years ago.
Right. You say that they won a World Series back to back. They won 2 World Series back to back, but you don't mention that it was over 100 years ago that they did it. Right? Here's another interesting thing about that. Did you know? this is the thing that a lot of White Sox fans always forget. Did you know that the Cubs have the longest streak of not winning the World Series? Everybody knows that. It's been over 100 years. They haven't won the World Series. Did you know that until 2005, when the White Sox won in 2005, they actually had the second longest streak at just over, they were 2 years apart from the Cubs. They had the second longest streak in not winning a World Series until they won it in 2005. So they went almost as long as we did until they got really, really lucky in 2005. And won. So, those are the things that everybody forgets about. They don't want to point out the negative. So you want to show all of your facts without favoritism. Without favoritism. Nutritional facts are really great from that. They have to show all of their facts without favoritism. They have to tell you exactly, well, they are in a way. They are really good about showing you all of the facts. But do they do it entirely without favoritism? We've all seen these, right? The fitness facts or the nutrition facts on like a candy bar or something like that. Is everything pointed out equally and obviously?
No.
No. How do they hide things?
Like in the commercials, I would say it's completely artificial and good.
Number one ingredient? Okay. What else? Okay, okay. So, Brooke's actually on her little pencil case here, it's got a fake food label on here. And if you actually take a look at it, can I pass this around really quick? I want you to take a look at it and notice, I want you to pay attention to one big thing while you're looking at that. The font size. The font size. Where are you going? Yeah.
Well, the serving size is really low. So it's like there's much less fat than something else. As long as it's like 4, it's like there's the same size.
Okay, exactly. Did everybody hear that? Because I don't think everybody heard it because there was some talking in the back corners of the room. Serving sizes. Has anybody ever really looked at the serving size on certain things of food? There could be really, really small. Like my favorite is, I love Lucky Charms, and I eat when I eat Lucky Charms, I eat like a gigantic popcorn bowl of Lucky Charms. It's huge. I love it. But if you look at the serving size of a box of Lucky Charms, it's like 3/4 of a cup or 1 cup. Does anybody know how big like 1 cup is? It's like that much. It's tiny. Like I don't know anybody who eats that. I don't know anybody. Like no, everybody you gotta eat at least like 2 or 3 of those. Any normal person, that's what I'm saying. The other one, like if you look on like a bag of M&Ms, it will tell you that a serving is like 8 M&Ms. Did anybody ever eat 8 M&Ms and then just fold the bag up and put it away for later?
No, I ate the whole thing.
You eat the whole bag, right? I eat the whole bag.
All day.
I eat more than 8 M&Ms than a handful that I throw in my mouth right away.
Yeah,
Like
I'm with you
you
on
eat
that.
the whole thing, it's boom, gone, right? So serving size is one way that we can show favoritism. We can change our statistics to show favoritism to make our product look better. What's another way, Jacqueline?
Like the TV commercials for all the medicine, they either they advertise the good parts of the medicine, but then they either in small print at the bottom of the screen or like they zoom through it really fast.
Like all the negative side effects. So they talk about all the different things that a particular medicine can do for you. They spend all this time really carefully talking about all the good things that it can do for you, and then really, really fast at the end, they just zip through all these. They cause and sometimes if you listen to the things that it can cause, you're like, well, that's way worse than anything that I'm going on right now.
Swelling in the heart, someone dies, stroke, suicidal.
Sorry, what's something else that they can have?
TV commercials or like Xfinity commercials with AT&T for like talking about how much better theirs is, and then like click away they click away like AT&T and they're saying how AT&T is way worse than their product because they should say all these reasons.
No, some of their facts are correct. Sometimes on those commercials they will give accurate facts, but they place them in such a way that it doesn't seem quite, like it definitely seems out of balance. Like they will only mention parts of the quote. One of the big things that I love that, especially like AT&T and Comcast or Xfinity likes to do, is they'll talk about you can get the fastest internet for $19.99 a month. And what they don't tell you, or what they don't tell you right away, is that's a promotional rate that only lasts for 6 months, and then after 6 months it jumps up to like $250 a month. So they don't. They keep that stuff kind of quiet. They don't really point it out. It's not as big. I'm hoping that everybody notices on here that on the nutritional facts, certain things that they think are really important, they have bolded and they have in big print so that you can see it. Other things are really small. I love whenever you get those snack cakes and they're like 100-calorie snack cakes, 100-calorie things, and it has all over the front. It's only 100 calories. And then you look on the back and you're like, but there's tons of fat and sugar in it. And you're like, well, then, what good is it? They kind of minimalize what it is. They have to put all the facts there, but they highlight one fact over another to draw your attention to it. Pardon?
Or like when you're watching a commercial and they it was like $9.99 or something, and then you'll see like in the corner plus like $5 shipping and handling.
Right, exactly. I almost, when I was buying parts for my tree, I almost fell for something like that a couple times. There were a couple different places that were offering certain parts for 99 cents. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. But it was $4.99 for shipping. I was like, well, every other place is offering it for $4.99 and free shipping, so why would I pay $1? All right, moving on. So we want to make sure that we show facts without favoritism, right? What's the other thing that we need to do? Here's a big thing. The descriptions of the product don't use adjectives. Whenever we start using adjectives to describe things, we put a biased slant on it. So when we start talking about how something is fast, or slow, or good, or bad, or big, small, we start adding comparisons, right? Because when you talk about something that's being big, right, you're immediately comparing it's bigger than something else, right? That's big. Or if it's fast, then that means it's got to be faster than something else, right? So once you start adding adjectives, you start adding descriptions, you're putting your own personal bias on it, okay? So an accurate, a very objective piece of information isn't going to have a whole lot of adjectives. Very, very few adjectives. Very, very few describing words. Obviously, you might have some detailed words like talking about its color, its shape, and its size, but you're not going to have a lot of adjectives talking about whether it's fast, whether it's good, whether it's bad. Okay? So that's going to be one of the last things, is you're not going to see a lot of adjectives added in. Anybody ever wonder what commercials would look like if we didn't have adjectives?
Oh, they look so dull.
It would be really boring, right? Would anybody ever pay attention to them?
No. They're like
No.
party dude.
I don't really pay attention to commercials too much anymore. I'm one of those people who I have 2 DVRs in my house, and I don't watch TV unless it's on the DVR 90% of the time, because I don't like to watch commercials. I fast forward to them. They're nonsense to me. They're just ridiculous. But if you were to take all the, imagine if you could take all the adjectives and all of the biasm, all of the favoritism, and all of the one-sidedness out of an advertisement.
Be more boring.
It would be boring, but would it actually be educational?
Yeah.
Would you actually learn something about the product? Yeah. If commercials were actually written objectively, 100% objectively, you would probably learn something about a product, but would you necessarily go out and buy that particular product?
No.
No. So why would you do that then?
Well, the commercials are saying you're boring, but the Super Bowl commercials are funny.
Yeah, but if you took out, I'm just saying, if you took all of this stuff out of even Super Bowl commercials, they'd be rather dull. They would be rather pointless. Okay.
They're the best.
biased information. Biased information can be found when, this is when we can find biased information. When selective reporting is practiced. That means that people only talk about a particular side or a particular aspect. They may look at the big picture, but they only talk about one particular area. They only talk about one particular thing. So if you were to have, a great example of this is, does everybody remember when Hurricane Katrina hit? Does you guys remember? When Hurricane Katrina hit, a lot of bad things happened, and there were a lot of people who were at fault for some of the bad things that happened because they weren't prepared and they weren't able to get out in time to help people and take care of things. So there was a lot of people to blame, and there was a lot of things that went wrong. A lot of things that they could have done differently and problems to fix, right? If you were to read an article that said that the only person who was to blame was President Bush because he didn't do this faster, that's selective reporting. Because it only focused on one person and said this is the only person who is to blame. The only person responsible. Is that an accurate, objective response to some big catastrophe? No, it's not. You're doing selective reporting. Only one person is to blame. So you want to make sure that you're looking for multiple perspectives. Multiple perspectives. Yeah.
Like the Febreze, when they do the reporting, and then like they delete all the people that said they smell all the bad stuff.
Right, exactly. You only see one family in that commercial, right? How many people do you know? And how do you know that that family that they brought in is a real family and not actually actors? Right? You don't really know. They do say it. Do they say on there like it's a real family or something like that?
I think you have to legally put it on there, but
On there.
usually in small print.
It's usually in small print if it's an actor.
Or either like the people who, like make the product are telling them to say that it smells good.
Okay. So they're getting fed information to say.
Yeah.
But I exactly agree with you on your comment. Is that when they do those Febreze commercials, right? They say that they load up this car with a whole bunch of junky stuff and they put some Febreze in it, and then they bring in people, and the people all comment about how, oh, all I can smell is this Febreze smell, right? Well, if they keep bringing in different people all throughout the day into that, like, because my favorite one is they have the van that's like loaded up with all the, there's like old food and I think there's some like diapers and stuff in the bag. And they have some junky pizza, and they're all sitting in there, and all they can smell is the Febreze, right?
Wait, but don't they?
But isn't because they're blindfolded, so they can't see it, so they don't know they're all sitting there, and they can't smell. They're all talking about how great it smells. Well, if they keep bringing in family after family after family, do you think every single family is only going to smell the Febreze?
No.
No, there's probably going to be at least a couple of people who are going to be like, it smells like old pizza and Febreze. But a lot of old pizza, right? They're gonna have they're gonna be like, is this new old pizza Febreze? Because it smells like old pizza and Febreze. So, but they only show a certain number of those people. So that was an excellent comment there. You're only going to see a certain number of people because they're only doing selective reporting. They're only showing you the people that immediately agree with them, that they want you to see. Right?
Can't they just use a good family and just buy them?
They could. They could use a real family and just bribe them, but they don't tell you that information either. They may not tell you that information either.
I think it's after those commercials, but I would really go in someone's van and smell, let them fly.
They do. That Laura actually had a really great point. If it is an actor, they do have to say somewhere in the bottom in the little fine print that it is an actor, or they'll put that participants were paid to participate. So they may say, we're going to pay you $20 to do this experiment. Come sit in the car. But they have to put that in there, so they got paid. I don't know how much. Okay, so the next one. Another way we can tell if we're looking at biased information. A judgmental opinion on a comment is stated. So if someone's making a judgmental call, stating in a judgmental way about something. So especially whenever you hear, my favorites are the Comcast, the Xfinity, and the AT&T commercials. Everybody hears them all the time. How many times do you hear somebody, they both come out every single time you hear a commercial. We have the fastest Wi-Fi. We have the fastest 4G. We have the fastest internet, right? Both of them say this. If both of them are saying it, which one really has the fastest? Do we know?
No. Nobody does.
They're both pretty fast. I personally think that Comcast is faster in my experience, but I don't have a lot of experience with AT&T. I just have a lot of experience with Comcast, and I know my Comcast is really fast. So my personal opinion is that it's faster, but by me saying that, I'm making a judgment call. I'm giving my opinion, saying that Comcast is faster. And every time that they say we are faster than AT&T, they are giving a judgment. And whenever you have a judgment, an opinion stated, whenever you have one of those opinions stated, you're looking at biased information. Okay? So whenever you see a judgment call, this is better than that. We are better than this. You have a judgment call. Coke is better than Pepsi. Right. Whenever you see this a lot in rivalries, whether it's sports or companies, the Coke versus Pepsi, Coke's better than Pepsi, Pepsi is better than Coke, McDonald's is better than Burger King, Burger King's better than McDonald's, Culver's is better than both of them. You know, Michigan over Michigan State, Michigan over Ohio State, because Michigan over Michigan State isn't even a competition. It's Wolverines all the way. So whenever you have a judgmental call, whenever you have a judgmental decision, one thing is better than the other. We actually, in my house, there is one big thing. I'm as much as I'm like anti-Apple and pro Samsung, I do own an iPod that I've had for a really long time before I developed this opinion. But there is one thing that's in my house. I don't believe in fake Legos. Like Mega Bloks are not allowed in my house. They're like, I've been given some Mega Bloks, or I think there's another company that makes the fake Legos. No, Duplos are made by Lego, so that's okay. But the fake Legos, they go in a box on the side, and when I have like little kids over my house, that's what they play with. They don't go in my collection. I take them all in my collection. They're not allowed. So, but that's a judgmental opinion. If you were to ask me, I would tell you that Mega Bloks are inferior. Okay. Propaganda is used. Does everybody know what propaganda is?
Yeah.
Emma, what's propaganda? What's propaganda? It's advertisement, but it's advertising slanted in a particular way.
Like, if you played some games, like board games or something like that, they'll talk about Chinese propaganda. It talks against maybe US or something like that.
It's propaganda is whenever you have like one side that puts out a whole bunch of information that is only about itself. It's only promoting itself, or it's only exceedingly negative about the other people. You do see this a lot in wartime,